Paul shivered as he stepped through the rusted iron gates of Oakwood Cemetery. The wind whispered through the ancient trees, causing the branches to creak and sway ominously. It was nearing dusk, and the fading light cast long, eerie shadows across the weathered tombstones. Paul had always been fascinated by the mysteries of death, but as he wandered deeper into the cemetery, a sense of unease settled in his bones. His footsteps echoed through the silent graveyard as he made his way toward the oldest section. The gravestones here were worn and crumbling, their inscriptions faded with time. As he read the names and dates etched into the stone, Paul couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched. A sudden gust of wind blew through the trees, causing Paul to jump. He turned around, half expecting to see someone behind him, but the cemetery was deserted, or so he thought. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a figure disappearing behind a mausoleum. His curiosity piqued. Paul followed, his heart pounding in his chest. The narrow path between the tombstones grew darker as Paul ventured deeper into the cemetery. The moon emerged from behind a cloud, casting an ethereal glow on the moss-covered graves. The figure he had seen was nowhere to be found, and a chill ran down his spine. He felt as if he had stumbled upon a secret that should have remained buried. Suddenly, a noise startled him. It was a soft, melancholic whisper, carried by the wind. Paul strained his ears, trying to make out the words, but they were lost in the darkness. Fear gripped him, but his curiosity pushed him forward. He had to uncover the source of the whispers. As he approached an old family plot, Paul noticed an open grave. The dirt was freshly dug, and the shovel lay abandoned nearby. It seemed as though someone had been interrupted in the act of burying a body. His heart raced as he peered into the open grave, and his blood turned to ice. Lying at the bottom of the pit was a worn, tattered journal. Paul's hands trembled as he picked it up and brushed away the dirt. The pages were yellowed and fragile, but the writing inside was still legible. It chronicled the dark secrets of the cemetery, the souls that were never at rest, and the unspeakable acts that had taken place within its boundaries. Paul's mind spun with a mix of fascination and terror. He felt as though he had stumbled upon a forbidden world, a realm of restless spirits and forgotten sins. As he turned the pages, he realized that the whispers he had heard were the voices of the departed, trapped between this world and the next. With every revelation, the air grew colder, and Paul's own breath misted in front of him. He knew he had to share this discovery, but who would believe him? The weight of the secrets he carried threatened to consume him, and the cemetery seemed to close in around him, as if the spirits themselves were drawing near. Paul's heart pounded in his chest as he carefully closed the journal and tucked it away in his bag. The weight of the secrets he now carried felt heavier than ever. The cemetery, once a place of intrigue, had become an ominous labyrinth of mysteries and restless spirits. As he turned to leave, a chill ran down his spine, and he froze in his tracks. The atmosphere around him had shifted, becoming charged with an otherworldly presence. The wind picked up, moaning through the trees like the anguished cries of lost souls. Shadows danced along the tombstones, taking on grotesque forms that seemed to watch him with unseen eyes. Fear gripped Paul's heart, but he knew he couldn't turn back now. He had to find a way to bring peace to the tormented spirits and uncover the truth behind the dark secrets of Oakwood Cemetery. Determination replaced his initial curiosity as he pressed forward. Paul's footsteps echoed through the silent night as he made his way toward the oldest mausoleum in the cemetery. Its grandeur had faded over the years, but its eerie charm remained intact. The massive stone doors creaked open reluctantly, as if warning him of the dangers that lay within. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Cobwebs draped the corners, and the flickering light from Paul's flashlight revealed rows of crypts, each one bearing the name of a long-forgotten family. As he explored further, he stumbled upon a hidden passage, concealed behind a crumbling brick wall. Intrigued and cautious, Paul ventured into the hidden corridor. The walls dripped with moisture, and the stale air seemed to suffocate him. As he navigated the winding passage, whispers grew louder, swirling around him like an invisible choir of sorrowful voices. Finally, the narrow corridor opened into a dimly lit chamber. Paul's breath caught in his throat as he took in the sight before him. The room was adorned with cryptic symbols and flickering candles, casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. In the center stood a decrepit altar, stained with what appeared to be dried blood. A sense of foreboding washed over Paul as he realized the significance of the chamber. It was a place of dark rituals, where unspeakable acts had taken place. He knew he had uncovered something far more sinister than he had ever imagined. But just as he was about to retreat, a ghostly figure materialized before him. It was a young woman, her eyes hollow and filled with anguish. She beckoned to him, her voice barely a whisper. "Help us," she pleaded. "Release us from this eternal torment." Paul's heart ached for the souls trapped in the cemetery, and he knew he couldn't turn his back on their plea. With newfound determination, he vowed to uncover the truth, expose the dark rituals, and give the restless spirits the peace they deserved. As Paul delved deeper into the secrets of Oakwood Cemetery, he encountered sinister forces that would stop at nothing to keep their deeds hidden. He discovered a network of individuals who had profited from the suffering of others, using the cemetery as a cover for their malevolent activities. With each revelation, the danger escalated. Paul found himself pursued by shadowy figures, taunted by ghostly apparitions, and plagued by haunting nightmares. But he refused to be deterred. He would bring justice to the forgotten souls and expose the truth, no matter the cost. Paul's determination burned brighter with each obstacle he encountered. He sought out local historians, digging deep into the archives to unravel the history of Oakwood Cemetery and the malevolent activities that had taken place within its grounds. The more he uncovered, the clearer the picture became. He discovered that the cemetery had once been owned by a powerful and influential family who had used their position to carry out heinous acts in secret. The family's dark legacy was intertwined with the very fabric of the cemetery, and their influence still loomed large. As Paul exposed the truth, he faced fierce opposition from those who had vested interests in keeping the secrets buried. Threats came from all directions, warning him to abandon his pursuit or face dire consequences, but he refused to be silenced. Driven by a sense of justice and the voices of the tormented spirits, Paul rallied a small group of like-minded individuals who believed in his cause. Together, they formed an alliance determined to expose the truth and bring an end to the reign of darkness that had shrouded Oakwood Cemetery for far too long. Their investigation led them deeper into the heart of darkness, uncovering hidden chambers, secret tunnels, and forgotten tombs. They encountered malevolent spirits that roamed the cemetery, their anger and anguish palpable. But Paul and his allies pressed on, armed with their unwavering resolve. As they delved further, they discovered a hidden network of tunnels beneath the cemetery, a labyrinth of secrets and suffering. It was there, in the depths of the darkness, that they came face to face with the true orchestrators of the malevolent acts that had plagued Oakwood Cemetery. The final confrontation was a battle of wills and courage. Paul and his allies fought against the malevolent forces, wielding the light of truth as their weapon. It was a fierce struggle, filled with uncertainty and peril, as they faced the very embodiment of evil. In the end, the darkness was banished, and the truth prevailed. The malevolent forces that had haunted Oakwood Cemetery for generations were exposed, their nefarious activities brought to light. The souls of the departed, finally at peace, found solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. Paul, exhausted but filled with a sense of accomplishment, stood before the restored and revitalized Oakwood Cemetery. It was a place transformed, no longer a sanctuary of secrets and suffering, but a symbol of hope and remembrance. The story of Oakwood Cemetery became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the darkness that can fester within even the most hallowed grounds. Paul, forever changed by his harrowing journey, became a guardian of the cemetery, ensuring that the truth remained intact and the souls of the departed found eternal rest. And as the sun set over Oakwood Cemetery, casting a warm, golden light upon the tombstones, Hall vowed to honor the memory of those who had suffered and to protect the sanctity of their final resting place, forever preserving the legacy of Oakwood Cemetery. The air was thick with an eerie silence as Henry cautiously entered the cemetery. The fading light of the setting sun cast long, haunting shadows on the weathered gravestones that dotted the landscape. He shivered, his breath visible in the crisp autumn air. Henry was not one to believe in the supernatural, but there was something about this place that made his skin crawl. He had come to the cemetery to visit the grave of his late grandfather, a man he had admired and respected. As Henry made his way through the rows of tombstones, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. Suddenly, he noticed a figure standing near a particularly ornate mausoleum. It was a woman dressed in a long, flowing black dress. Her pale skin seemed to glow in the fading light, and her dark hair cascaded down her back. Henry's heart skipped a beat as he recognized her. Amelia, his grandfather's former caretaker. Amelia had always been an enigmatic figure in Henry's childhood memories. She had left the town under mysterious circumstances years ago, and no one had heard from her since. Seeing her now, in this desolate cemetery, sent a chill down his spine. Curiosity compelled Henry to approach her, but his instincts screamed at him to turn and run. He hesitated for a moment before mustering up the courage to speak. "Amelia? Is that you?" he called out, his voice wavering. The woman turned slowly, her eyes piercing through him. "Henry," she whispered, her voice carrying an otherworldly quality. "I've been waiting for you." Henry's heart raced as he stepped closer, his mind filled with questions. "What do you mean, waiting for me? Why are you here, and how do you know my name?" Amelia's lips curled into a mysterious smile. "Your grandfather left behind a secret, Henry, a secret that only you can uncover. Follow me." With a mix of trepidation and curiosity, Henry followed Amelia as she led him deeper into the cemetery. The gravestones became more weathered and overgrown, as if they hadn't been visited in years. The air grew colder, and Henry's breath came out in huffs of mist. Finally, they arrived at a forgotten corner of the cemetery, where an ancient crypt stood, partially hidden by ivy and neglect. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Amelia gestured for Henry to enter. His heart pounding, Henry took a deep breath and stepped inside. The staircase seemed to go on forever, and the darkness closed in around him. He couldn't help but wonder what awaited him at the bottom, and what secret his grandfather had left behind. As Henry descended deeper into the crypt, the stale smell of dampness filled his nostrils. The only source of light was a flickering candle Amelia held, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. The air grew colder and heavier, as if laden with the weight of forgotten secrets. Finally, the staircase ended, and Henry found himself standing in a dimly lit chamber. The walls were adorned with faded tapestries and shelves filled with dusty old tomes. In the center of the room, a weathered wooden desk held a tattered journal. Amelia approached the desk and opened the journal, revealing yellowed pages filled with meticulous handwriting. "This journal," she said softly, "belonged to your grandfather. It holds the answers you seek." Henry's heart pounded with anticipation as he stepped forward and began to read the entries. The journal chronicled his grandfather's research into the history of the cemetery, delving into the dark secrets that lay hidden within its grounds. According to the journal, the cemetery was not just a final resting place for the deceased, but a portal to another realm, a realm of shadows and restless spirits. Henry's grandfather had spent years studying the cemetery, trying to uncover its mysteries and protect the town from the malevolent forces that lurked within. As Henry read on, he discovered that his grandfather had made a startling discovery, an ancient artifact known as the Amulet of Souls. Legend had it that this amulet had the power to control and contain the spirits that roamed the cemetery. But the amulet had been lost for centuries, and its whereabouts were unknown. Amelia interrupted Henry's thoughts, her voice filled with urgency. "Henry, the amulet is the key to sealing the portal. It must not fall into the wrong hands. You must find it before it's too late." Henry looked up, his mind racing with a mix of fear and determination. "But how? Where do I even begin?" Amelia's eyes glinted with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "Your grandfather left behind clues, scattered throughout the cemetery. Only by solving these riddles can you uncover the amulet's location." With renewed purpose, Henry and Amelia embarked on a perilous quest, scouring the cemetery for hidden symbols, deciphering cryptic messages, and solving intricate puzzles. Each clue they discovered led them deeper into the labyrinthine graveyard, closer to the amulet and the truth that lay within. But they were not alone in their search. Unbeknownst to them, a malevolent figure lurked in the shadows, desperate to obtain the amulet's power for their own sinister purposes. Henry could feel the presence growing stronger with each step, a looming threat that seemed to anticipate his every move. As the night wore on, Henry's resolve was tested. The whispers of the restless spirits echoed in his ears, and the weight of the cemetery's dark history pressed upon him. But he pushed forward, driven by his love for his grandfather and the need to protect the town from the horrors that awaited if the amulet fell into the wrong hands. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Henry and Amelia stood before an ancient weathered tree, a tree said to be as old as the cemetery itself. Carved into the bark were the final words of his grandfather's journal. "Beneath the roots lies the amulet's secret." With trembling hands, Henry dug through the soil, revealing a hidden compartment beneath the tree's gnarled roots. Inside, nestled in a velvet-lined box, was the Amulet of Souls, the key to sealing the portal and protecting the town from the malevolent forces that plagued the cemetery. But as Henry held the amulet in his hands, a chilling wind swept through the graveyard, extinguishing the candle's flame. In the darkness, he heard a haunting laughter. The malevolent figure had found them. Henry's heart raced as he clutched the Amulet of Souls tightly, his knuckles turning white. He could sense the malevolent presence drawing closer, its sinister laughter echoing through the darkness. Amelia stood beside him, her eyes filled with determination. "We can't let them take the amulet," Amelia whispered, her voice steady despite the mounting danger. "We must protect it at all costs." With a surge of bravery, Henry stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the approaching figure. It emerged from the shadows, revealing a tall, gaunt figure draped in tattered black robes. Its eyes glowed with an unearthly light, and its bony fingers reached out greedily. "You cannot stop me," the figure hissed, its voice a haunting echo. "The power of the amulet belongs to me." Henry's grip tightened around the amulet, a surge of determination fueling his every move. He had come too far, faced too many challenges, to give up now. With a steady voice, he replied, "You won't succeed. I won't let you unleash the darkness upon this town." A battle ensued, a clash between light and darkness. Henry and Amelia fought with every ounce of strength they possessed, evading the figure's attacks and pushing back against its relentless advance. The cemetery became a battleground, the gravestones bearing witness to the struggle between good and evil. Amidst the chaos, Henry's hand brushed against a crumbling tombstone, and a surge of realization coursed through him. He remembered his grandfather's words, his final entry in the journal. "In the darkest hour, when all hope seems lost, trust in the souls that came before you." Closing his eyes, Henry called upon the spirits of the cemetery, his voice a plea for assistance. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and a soft, ethereal glow enveloped him. The spirits of the departed joined the fight, lending their strength to his cause. Together, Henry, Amelia, and the spirits unleash a torrent of light, banishing the malevolent figure back into the shadows from whence it came. The darkness receded, and a sense of peace settled over the cemetery once more. As the last echoes of battle faded away, Henry took a deep breath, his body trembling with exhaustion and triumph. The amulet, now safe in his hands, radiated a gentle warmth. The souls of the cemetery had guided him, helping him to protect their resting place and fulfill his grandfather's legacy. With the dawn breaking on the horizon, Henry and Amelia made their way back through the cemetery, a renewed sense of purpose in their hearts. The town would be safe, the secrets of the cemetery guarded, and though the night had been filled with darkness and uncertainty, they emerged stronger, having conquered their fears and unearthed the truth that lay buried within the hallowed grounds. The tale of Henry and his journey through the cemetery would become legend, whispered by generations to come. The cemetery itself took on an air of mystery, a place where the past intertwined with the present, and where the spirits of the departed watched over their beloved town. And so, the cemetery stood as a silent testament to the power of courage, love, and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to confront the mysteries that lie within its gates. Lauren shivered as a cold gust of wind swept through the old cemetery, rustling the leaves and causing the tombstones to creak. She stood at the entrance, hesitating to step inside. The sun had set, casting eerie shadows among the gravestones, and a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. Lauren had always been fascinated by cemeteries. The history, the stories of those who had come before, the quiet solitude, it drew her in. But tonight, something felt different. The usually peaceful atmosphere seemed tinged with an inexplicable darkness. As she took her first cautious steps into the graveyard, Lauren's heart raced. She had come here with a purpose, driven by an insatiable curiosity. There were rumors of a hidden crypt buried deep within the cemetery, a crypt that held a secret. Legends spoke of a powerful artifact hidden within its walls, a relic with the ability to grant unimaginable power to its possessor. With her flashlight in hand, Lauren wandered through the rows of tombstones, her gaze darting from one to another. The moon cast an eerie glow over the landscape, adding to the macabre ambience. Each step sent a shiver down her spine, as if unseen eyes watched her every move. She stopped at an aged tombstone, its inscription worn away by time. It felt as though a chill emanated from the ground beneath it. Instinctively, Lauren knelt down, brushing away the fallen leaves to reveal a small, faded photograph. The image depicted a group of people, their faces haunted and sorrowful. The cryptic puzzle had begun. Her mind filled with questions, Lauren continued her search. Hours turned into minutes as she combed through the graveyard, following a trail of hidden clues and obscure symbols. It seemed as though the cemetery itself had become a puzzle, a living entity conspiring to keep its secrets buried forever. But Lauren's determination was unwavering. She had come too far to turn back now. Guided by the cryptic clues, she arrived at a crumbling mausoleum, its stone facade cracked and weathered. The door stood slightly ajar, beckoning her to enter. With a deep breath, Lauren pushed the door open and stepped into the darkness within. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and a sense of unease settled upon her. She flicked on her flashlight, illuminating the gloom. As the beam of light danced across the room, Lauren's eyes widened in disbelief. The walls were adorned with intricate murals depicting scenes of life and death, their colors faded but still hauntingly beautiful. In the center of the chamber stood an ancient sarcophagus, adorned with ornate carvings. Lauren approached the sarcophagus cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out, her fingers trembling, and traced the carvings etched into its surface. Suddenly, the stone lid began to shift, sliding to one side with an agonizing screech. The chamber filled with an otherworldly glow, and Lauren's eyes widened in both awe and terror. Nestled within the sarcophagus was a shimmering amulet, pulsating with a sinister energy. The artifact radiated power, but its malevolent aura sent shivers down her spine. Lauren hesitated, torn between her desire for knowledge and the fear that gripped her. The choice before her was clear: take the amulet and risk the consequences, or walk away and forever wonder about the secrets it held. The flickering light from her flashlight danced across the amulet, tempting her with its mystical allure. Lauren's heart raced as she reached out, her fingers trembling, and carefully lifted the artifact from its resting place. As she held the amulet in her hand, a surge of power coursed through her veins. It whispered promises of unimaginable abilities, of knowledge beyond her wildest dreams. But as the darkness in the chamber seemed to intensify, doubt crept into Lauren's mind. Was the amulet a gift or a curse? Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, chilling Lauren to the bone. "You have awakened the ancient guardian," it hissed. "Prepare to face the consequences of your greed." Fear gripped Lauren's heart as she turned to see a ghostly figure materialize before her. It was a spectral being, its form ethereal and translucent. The guardian of the crypt had been awakened, its purpose to protect the artifact from those who sought to exploit its power. Lauren's instincts screamed at her to run, but her curiosity and determination held her ground. She had come too far to back down now. With a trembling voice, she pleaded, "I did not mean to disturb you. I only sought knowledge, not harm." The guardian's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as it regarded her. "Your intentions do not absolve you of the consequences," it replied, its voice carrying a weight of centuries. "You have unleashed a darkness that cannot be contained. It will consume you, and all who dare seek its power." Lauren's heart sank, her grip on the amulet tightening. She had unwittingly set in motion a chain of events that threatened to unleash chaos upon the world. But deep within her, a glimmer of hope remained. She had the power to make amends, to set things right. Summoning her courage, Lauren spoke with conviction. "I will find a way to contain this darkness. I will not let it wreak havoc on innocent lives." The guardian regarded her for a moment, its spectral form wavering. "You may have the chance to redeem yourself," it said, its voice softer now. "But know that the path ahead is treacherous. The darkness is relentless, and its influence will test your resolve." With those words, the guardian faded away, leaving Lauren alone in the chamber. She knew that her journey was far from over. She had to find a way to control the amulet's power and prevent the impending disaster. As she exited the crypt, the moonlight cast an ethereal glow over the cemetery. The night air felt heavy with anticipation. Lauren's mind raced, seeking a solution to the looming threat. She realized that she couldn't face this challenge alone. Determined, Lauren reached out to her closest friends, revealing the gravity of the situation. Together, they formed a small but devoted group, united by their determination to prevent the darkness from consuming their world. Days turned into weeks as Lauren and her companions delved into ancient texts, sought out forgotten knowledge, and consulted wise elders. They uncovered rituals and incantations that could potentially control the amulet's power and imprison the darkness once more. Their journey took them to desolate places, haunted forests, and abandoned ruins. Along the way, they faced countless trials and encountered manifestations of the darkness that threatened to consume them, but their resolve remained unyielding. Finally, after months of tireless efforts, Lauren and her friends stood before the ancient altar, the place where they would attempt to channel the amulet's power and seal away the darkness. With each step, their hearts pounded with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They recited the incantations and performed the rituals, their voices blending into a powerful crescendo. The amulet glowed in response, its energy swirling around them. They felt the darkness straining against their efforts, resisting the containment they sought to impose. But Lauren and her companions refused to back down. They poured every ounce of their strength into the ritual, drawing upon their unwavering determination and the bond they had formed. As the climax of the ritual approached, a blinding light erupted from the amulet, engulfing the altar and surrounding area. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as if time stood still. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the light faded, leaving behind a profound silence. The darkness had been contained, imprisoned within a hidden realm, sealed away from the world. Lauren and her companions sighed with relief, their bodies weary but their spirits lifted. They had succeeded in their mission, saving countless lives from the malevolent forces they had unleashed. But as they gazed at the amulet, Lauren and her friends understood that their task was not yet complete. The artifact still held immense power, and the responsibility to safeguard it fell upon their shoulders. They pledged to protect it, to ensure it would never fall into the wrong hands again.